Okay, dear friends of love for volleyball, amor por el voleibol, I have the honor of speaking with a coach from the Netherlands with enormous experience in charge of different volleyball teams, especially the men's national team that won the Olympic gold in Atlanta 1996. I mean Joop Alberda, who is currently with us today talking about volleyball. Hello, Joop, how are you?
Good, thank you very much. I'm currently in Romania at Cluj, where we playing the preliminary round with the women's national team and going up to Plovdiv and eventually to Belgrade.
Fantastic. Joop, first of all, tell me please, when and why did you start or you choose volleyball as your sport?
Wow, that's I'm born in a very little town in which there was only soccer and gymnastics. And I had to choose when I was about 12 years old if I wanted to play soccer or go for gymnastics. I think I made the wrong choice. I choose for gymnastics. I was reasonable okay. In youth age, I was number 5, 6 from the Netherlands. And when I went for the secondary school and then later on to the education for physical education, someone discovered me and said, hey, you have to play volleyball.
Okay.
More or less because the club's finance situation was not so good. So if you could recruit someone to pay something, that would be in benefit for the best teams. And then slowly I got fascinated within a couple of years, and based on my gymnastic skills, I succeeded in playing the highest league. I was what I would call a lousy player, pretty fanatic, and with a lot of toughness about and being resilient, not competing on the top of the league, but I refused to quit, and I got fascinated by the structure of the game and the way you can use statistics and strategy in the game itself. And those were two components which were pretty much related to my brain.
Fantastic. It's very true what you're saying about the resilience about a sportsman or life, to never give up. And what it's happening to me, for example, I think many people around the world with volleyball, is that we fall in love with volleyball. And volleyball has something special that we the crazy ones love and have this sport as our life, our life passion. So I understand you. In Chile, we have many volleyball players for many years, and we struggle to get in the best of the world, but has been very tough for us, very difficult. And I have read or have seen that you and the Netherlands have been for a lot of years making a great effort and a great job to be in the top 10 or the top 20 of volleyball, especially in men's and also in women volleyball. Tell me please, when you was a player, did you ever thought to be or work as a trainer? How was this thought or this thinking of you to become a trainer? What is something that happens? You talk with somebody. How was this evolution for you?
Well, first, when I started playing volleyball, there was not a tendency in society that volleyball was a great sport. Eventually, it was all about talent was something like the end of the line already.
Okay.
And I was happy if we got a pair of socks and a shirt after a year. But the main thing when we went on, there were two things happening. In the 80s, we found out that we had some very decent, talented boys in the junior programs. There came an economic wind, a flow of mindset that if you are willing to become the best, there might be a road instead of refusing to adapt to your talents. The second important phase, besides this economical phase, was Peter Murphy started as a technical director and high performance attitude in one club, Brother Martinez. Okay. And the third one was the coming of Ari Selinger as the former coach of the women's team in 1984, winning the silver medal in the LA Olympics, coming to the Netherlands, seeing these, what he called in the beginning, these lampposts, playing volleyball at an amazing level already. And well, he made the big change.
Okay.
Personally, from myself in 1984, after the Olympics, I got a reward from the Olympic Committee that I could go to a course to my personal view, and I chose a lecture or a clinic of 10-14 days in Båstad in Sweden.
Okay.
And there was Anders Christiansson, the coach of the
Sweden team.
Of Sweden. There was Doug Beal, former coach of the national men's team who won the gold medal in Los Angeles. And we started discussing, and I felt attached to their approach, philosophical way of Anders Christiansson, strategical way of Doug Beal, and also the human approach towards the game as the whole composition of mind and body of a player, and not only looking at him as someone who could execute some skills. And those combination of Ari Selinger coming in, the prize I won, and meeting Doug Beal and Anders Christian and some other, Carmelo Bosco, and coaches and scientists like that, made me that I fell in love with the game, and I decided that I wanted to see how far I could come.
Fantastic. I told you before we started this conversation via camera that I met the national team from Holland, from Netherlands, in 1985, and the junior world championship in Italy. I was in the national team of Chile, and when we saw, the first time I saw the Dutch national team, I thought, how can so many players be so tall? I was very shocked about this, because in my team we have 2 or 3 guys above the meter 95, 96, but in this team, from the Dutch team, there was Ron Zwerver, Roland Soosma, Edwin Bene, and more players above the 2 meters. So I thought there's something happens with this team. And after this, and as you told me, it was part of a very ambitious program with Ari Selinger, with Peter Murphy, and so many great trainers, the federation, and the players, and the states of Holland. I think that you wanted to win gold. You wanted to do it better. So please tell me, Joop, how was it for you when you started with this generation, for the junior generation, and with some other players like Marco Brouwers and other players, get Bertkoop, I think, Avital Selinger. How did you make it the mix to get in the best of the volleyball in the world, even with a classical volleyball, European volleyball, with so many tall players, but with a very good defense? Please tell me, how could you do it?
Well, I think this is first of all, we increased the number of hours of practice with the junior teams, like you said, with Jan Postuma, the tall guys, Ron Zwerver, Edwin Benne, Bert Goedkoop and Marco Brouwers, and Avital Selinger never competed in the junior teams. So they were outside that system.
Exactly.
and we noticed that as an average the Dutch average people are pretty special nutrition, or we are not doing hard labor, but the average of the Dutch player is pretty tall, which makes him also, because of our mental attitude, is we like individuals, but we like also as an individual to cooperate. Okay. And those 2 mental mixes of being the body posture is okay for volleyball, and the mental state of the Dutch, being an individual but wanting to cooperate, and also with a lot of players on a very small squared field, which is, as a metaphor, the Dutch society. We're living with 18 million people in a relatively small country.
It's very true.
It's more or less our DNA to compete like that. But again, to Ari Salinger, he was the one who increased the number dramatically, invited the best players. We call that the Bankras model, which is still now a concept other teams and other parts of the volleyball federation and other federations in the Netherlands use. After the Olympics, the president of the Olympic committee asked me in the middle of the night at 4 o'clock in the morning. He told me, I don't want you to go to Italy to coach a foreign team. I want you to stay at home in the Netherlands, help the Olympic committee to define a project which will lead us up to a nation which will be successful in the future. And in 2000, we were pretty successful with the Olympic team in Sydney, and now these Olympics in Tokyo we had an astonishing result of 36 medals. And it's all based, and that's maybe the credits to the starting 12 or the fabulous 6, we call them, of a team of volleyball, which is basically the fundament of the whole elite sport now in the Netherlands. So the lead time of what we achieved in the 90s has still his footprint in the 2020s and 30s. And that's remarkable for a sport which is not so big in the Netherlands itself, but the national team is a big concept in the world.
It's so impressive what you're saying, because we here in Chile, we have, I think, more or less the same number of people, but we never have achieved so many triumphs in sport, because we are a very special country. We don't have the struggle you have. You were in between two world wars. You have a very small country. You fight against the sea. You have many things you must learn to live with. Also, you have a mass of big players. I remember also in the Junior World Championship in 1985 that our trainer talked to us and said, "Look, the Dutch team is very tall, but they are slow. So we must play very fast." Nothing.
Okay.
We lost 0-3, and it was a battle we lost from the first time we saw you. But I think what you're telling me about this program with the Fabulous Six, of this national program, the integration of all the players, and the willing of wanting to get in the best of the sports is very impressive for me. Not also volleyball, so in the sports in general. So I wanted to ask you to go on with our conversation about Atlanta. You played. Ari Salinger was the head coach in Barcelona in '92. You obtained the silver medal against Brazil. But what was the evolution of the team? But was basically the same team that won in Atlanta the gold. How was it possible?
There were a couple of factors. After the 1992 Olympics, a few of the players already played in Italy, and I decided that it would be better not to be isolated in one system and practice in the Netherlands. So I made a lot of agreements with the managers of the top 4 teams in Italy to get everywhere 2 players of the Dutch national team with Treviso, Montechiari, Milano. So they would have the best coaches, they would have a solid salary, they would have a trustful culture about elite sport, and the benefit would return to the Netherlands. That was one factor. The second factor was that I found two players in which I thought that they could make the difference in 1996. Bas van der Goor as a unique middle blocker and middle hitter.
Fantastic players, yes.
And Guido Gurtsen, who could add something we did not have, because I think we won the battle in space in 1992, and I wanted to win the battle in speed in 1996.
Okay.
And then you need players who can hit on a different level and a different speed the balls in the outside. We refrained from crossing the court from left to right and played more or less straightforward. And we introduced in the World League 1996 with Blanchet and Bas van der Goor the quick hits, first tempo hits behind the 3-meter line at the first time in world-class level. So by changing the team formation, by changing the learning position of the players in the competition in Italy, made actually about the same way like England is struggling in soccer by putting your best players on the crucial points in the Italian competition, made actually Italy a little weaker than they were. So that was not only my strategy, the Cubans did the same. Brazil does the same by putting as many players in the Italian competition.
Exactly.
And the bottom line will be that your competition on the key position goes worse than it might be.
I admire and I love the team from Atlanta because, for example, the player Bas van der Goor, he was a middle blocker, but he also attacked, as you're saying, from behind and from 3-meter line. That's today it's impossible. I don't like it. I love more the volleyball from the 90s, from the 80s, when a good player must be good in the net and behind and defense, and also what Bas also did. And the player you told me, Guido Gurtsen, he was a fantastic player, outside hitter, defense player, and also with Ron Zwerver, with Henk den Held, with Peter Blanchet, and all van der Meulen, because in Barcelona they were playing, if I don't make a mistake, Edwin Beni was as a very great outside hitter, and Abington Sellinger was also playing as a setter. With this, sadly, the problem in block. Peter Blanchet is 2'5" or more, and he was a good, very good blocker. So tell me, when you started training this team, what was your ambition to get with this team? Because as I told you before, I saw this team playing, and I saw that, for example, in Seoul in 1988, the Dutch team was playing, but was playing very well, but not getting yet the medals, the top 5 or the top 3 position. How did you make this possible with this team?
Well, I think the key to be in the very end successful, you can, in those days, having an isolated system worked for Argentina, worked for Cuba, worked more or less for the USA, worked for us, because there was not a completely international competition in which players were traveling all over the world. The fact that we had them well educated, also as a defensive player, like you told about Bas van der Goor and Guido Gurtsen, it was crucial to, in my view, to put them in a competition where they would feel the pressure every second day to play matches, international, national with the team, and then return to the national team with much more luggage and competencies than they would leave, because the pressure in Italy was at that time enormous with Benetton and Berlusconi. High demands are for spectators because of paying the entrance fees, of course.
Exactly.
And I think the key was the ongoing maturity of players, learning to cope with defeat and winning, learning to get a different resilience than in Dutch society. So I think that was one of the pieces of the puzzle which made us successful.
Fantastic. It's very incredible. Many people say that this final against Italy is one of the best finals in volleyball and men's volleyball. I agree. It was a very intense final. Both teams, as you say, many of were teammates in Italy, so they knew each other very well. They knew the movements. They knew their capacities. Was it also a mental game? Because the Dutch team, this team especially, I thought I watched the videos, and it was a very fighting team. All points were celebrated as the last point of the championship. I saw so much passion in every game and every point.
That was part of the maturity as well, that they understood that being as an individual completely different from the others, they accepted and they understood that they needed this unique generation to do something special. Then as a team, you have a choice to focus on the things which is distinguishing you from the others and focusing on that. You can also focus on the uniting parts of what you have. What's ambition? We had a silver medal and we wanted to have a gold medal. We needed a team, our second team, sometimes the B team, was as good as the first team, and it was inside the team took two to tango. And I'm grateful to Italy and Julio Velasco, who had a team which was challenging us every time to the limit. And I agree that the Atlanta 96 final was one of the best finals I've ever witnessed. And after the Olympics, by the medal ceremony, Samaranch told me, he said, I would like to give 24 medals because I think these are two equal games. This was one of the few moments when I really disagreed with Samaranch, because I thought that if you win, you take it.
It's right. That's right. When you are talking, I'm very emotional because I love volleyball. I always have I love volleyball. My family in Chile, we are crazy about volleyball. And when we see, for example, I'm talking with you. You're an Olympic champion. It's so great because in Chile we have not so many opportunities or less opportunity to talk with people like you who has after a so great work and so great project get the chance to play a final. It's for me it's very impressive, and I thank you for this. And I wanted to
I just have object. One of the things my granddad told me, stay modest, especially when you're successful, and accept that there are some opportunities which are just at that moment, at that specific time, because the players are, as an average, were 28 years old.
Yes.
I was not there with the conception. I can guarantee you. I have no idea. I was also lucky to have, say, 3 or 4 exceptional good players in my prime of my career. And they had the 10 years of education. They made every year more than 1,000 hours. They had an average of over 250 international matches, which is these days hardly to imagine. So we had always 1,500 international matches on the pitch. We had experience of Seoul, Barcelona, and then the third one in Atlanta, and in 2000 we became the 5th. So 5, 2, 1, and 5 was, by in that time, nearly as good and maybe better than what the Soviet Union ever had done and what the USA had done in a period of 20 years. And that is all because of an investment in the 80s, between 1986 and 1996, being also the foundation of modern sport in the Netherlands, which is an achievement we celebrated 2 weeks ago, well, 4th of August, the day when we played the final in 1996. We came together with the whole team and we celebrated that moment again after 25 years. And Ron Zwerver, on one of our men, I think, who was incorporating ambition and loyalty to a team and a dream, he released a book about his history and about his history.
Exactly.
And that's, I mean, that's a moment we have to cherish. And I'm very glad that the Dutch Federation is able and willing to make a point in history for the Federation that that is a moment in time you should not forget.
Yes, yes. I always have thought that winning teams or winning projects have a lot of as we call it in Chile, mystic, a concept, a very strong concept. And I remember two things. Again, in 1985, we went back from a stadium after a game, not against you, but we were in Bologna, I think, and we were in the bus, and the Dutch team began to sing. I think a popular song. And we Chilean, we started to sing too. So we were two teams. We never knew each other, but we were singing, and sharing a time. When you feel that something is happening here, it's different. We were not enemies. We were friends in love for volleyball. And the second thing that I've been thinking is about the Netherlands. As I told you before, I lived in Germany as a kid, as a child, and here in Chile or South America, we always thought that the Dutch people are very like the Germans, very serious, very calm, very ice cold. But as I told you before, I saw the teams. Ron Swerver like a maniac shouting against the Italians. You were shouting too from the bank, and I thought and I became aware that the volleyball in Netherlands is different. You have something different from your neighbors or from France. I don't know. It's a view from us here in South America. But it's very impressive to watch the volleyball in Netherlands, especially today. For example, the women's national team is a very strong team. You have for many years a very strong team with many great players. Tell me please, Joop, after Atlanta, what was the volleyball in what became about the volleyball in Netherlands?
Well, first to your remark about the mentality, I think that we, as well as in soccer, we like to play to South Americans, and we have in our emotions, we play best against Brazil.
Okay.
Because Brazil gives a lot of energy, visible energy. We look a little bit cold outside, but when it's about sport, we like the emotion. We like to show the emotion. We like to play against emotional teams. And yeah, I think we're a little different than Germany. The second thing, what you're asking, we made a lot of developments after the Olympics in 1992 and 6. The team struggled a little bit because of the gold medal became a little bit too heavy for the following generation.
Okay. Yes.
Which made clear how special it is if you have a generation with 2 or 3 of these exceptional players. That is in small countries, and in big countries not so often. So, and big sport like we have in soccer with over 1.2 million people who are participating. We only had 1 medal, European Championships in 1988 with Gullit, Rijkaard and Van Basten.
I saw this final, fantastic. Against Russia, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an exceptional group. You need 3, 4, 5 generations to build a team because you need some hierarchy and you need some maturity and some youngsters coming in that team. After that, we relied too long maybe on the old ones, and we refrained from educating new players who could fit in. But still, in 2000 we were 5, in 2004 we were 9th, and then we disappeared a little bit from the Olympics. We returned in 2016 with the women. We returned in 2016 also with beach volleyball.
Exactly.
So different parts of our federation became world class. Men started. The women became European champions. The women became 4th in 2018 in the World Championships.
Yes.
Became 4th in the Olympic Games in 2016. But it makes it clear that international sport has developed dramatically, and you have to be lucky about the talents you get. You have to be lucky about the good coaches you can find to educate the players. And you have to have a lot of resilience and patience to build a new generation who can fit into a team. And although we were not so successful with the men, we still have a team where I'm proud of right now with Roberto Piazza, who's doing an amazing job with the players to make ambition come true to go to the Paris Olympic Games. And I want to make a remark about volleyball because it's so big sport in the world. It's not only the Olympics who should make you proud. If you play a decent Europe Continental Championship, if you play decent VNL, if you play decent and you're inspiring people and you're inspiring the society, that's maybe as useful as winning a gold medal.
Exactly. Absolutely right with you. I agree with you 100%. Tell me, please, Joop, you told me you're in Romania now and with the women national team. And how do you see the future of Netherlands volleyball, men and women? How's you feeling about the future, the 10 or 20 years from now?
Ooh, that's a long period, and I'm not such a visionary.
5 years or 10 years, I don't know.
It will be easier for us to build a women's team because there's about 70% of the new kids who sign in for volleyball are girls. Okay. 30% are boys. So the amount of players is more limited. Still, I believe in the system we have in the National Training Center that we will be on the top 10 of the world with the men for the future. We're looking, and we found a new setter who will fit in the team. Yeah. On the women's side, we are exactly 1 year ahead of the World Championships. We are in a transition of the team. Some of the players, and that's a little bit due to the international calendar. If you play VNL and Olympic Games and then the Continental Championship, you get 1 week off, and then the club competition starts where most of the players earn their money. It's a system which will kill players at the long run. The FIVB and the CEV should join efforts to accept the responsibility that they keep the big players like Ngapé from France or Zaitsev from Italy and Juan Torrena and all the big players in the world as long as possible on the pitch. Okay. And what happens now, it's nearly impossible to stay so long on the field of play, and that they have to refrain from the team every now and then, and they take a break. That's one side of the calendar. The other side of the development of the play, I see even more and more skillful players who are still more all-round and not so specialized anymore. What we started in the 90s with Bas. I am personally not so happy with the development of the middle blockers. The middle blockers are related to height. Yes. They became more or less the substitute of the team. They play 50%. They are not part, and it's an assumption that middle blockers are not able to serve receive. It's an assumption. Yes. So what I don't like of the whole volleyball system, and we cannot do that as a little country because we don't have the means for that, but the teams are playing in general in all sports like the champion does. So the different systems don't have time to prepare themselves like in an isolated system we had in the 80s and the 90s.
Exactly.
So everybody's copying the Olympic and the world champion and tries to do the same system. And I'm waiting for the moment that also my brain is fresh to find new options. I'm talking regular with Doug Beal about this issue. How can we improve the game, which is good for players, is good for the television, it's good for the audience, and it's good for the future of the game? And what will be the next development, and how can we predict it or find out, or trying to be unique like we had our unique selling points in the 90s and the 80s?
Absolutely right. Again, I'm agree with you 100%, because
okay.
I was a middle blocker, and I love to defend. Okay. I love to attack from behind, and I think what you're saying is it's very true. So the middle blockers today are very tall, 2m13, 2m20, but I think they can or they should play in the behind lines to defense. They should play as a back row player, attacker, because I recently talked with Andrea Gianni from Italy, and he was also an
middle blocker,
outside hitter. He was he attacked from behind also, and I think this made volleyball, it's also my opinion, make volleyball better, I think, because the middle blocker should be so good as in the front line, in the back line, and I hope volleyball will change in this way, because I'm also agree with you about the playing system. In the 80s, in the 70s, there were the Japanese style, the Russian style, there were the Brazilian style, there were after this, there were the Dutch style of volleyball, and this made it, I think, more rich, our sport. Today, obviously, as you're saying, all teams try to copy or to follow the leads of the world champion, of the Olympic champion. But I think it's not the correct way to make volleyball evolution. Also,
I think. Yeah, I agree with you. But I also think that because of internet, when the 80s, there was still some sort of a mystery. What are the Italians doing? Because video was there, but internet was not ready for us. And right now, everything has been demystified. If I go to Chile, I'm just checking if National Geographic told me the right story. And I'm just checking it.
Yes.
And if we would continue like this specialization about the middle blockers, then we would go to one fundamental changing rule of volleyball, which I do not like, is the rotational system. Then you get one opposite, the left winger, the middle blocker, the right winger, the setter on position one, and two defenders on the other position who do maybe all the work. That would be the change of the game completely if you would refrain from rotating. I hope it will not happen.
Me too.
But if you go to specialization, then it's logical that there is a left winger who's always on the left side. There's a middle blocker always on the middle, and there's a right wing attacker always on the right side. We are not heading that direction. I'm thrilled by some of the liberos who are more or less become first six player. They were, and also in the creativity of using the libero, I see in my view, too much using the libero at the same intention and the same position, instead of using the libero at different position and maybe creating something new.
Yeah, yes, I agree also with you, and I think many of people like us over 50 years old, we think or we live or we feel the volleyball in similar ways. I wanted to finally closing this conversation with you, Joop. I know you're very busy, and I wanted to thank you again for your time. Also thank Peter for the contact he made with us. And again, for me, it was an honor to talk with you and to see even my bad English that we have so many things in common about volleyball, about what we feel about volleyball, about what we see in volleyball, and what we want to give our beautiful sports in the future. So I give you many things. I send you a big hug and many health wishes from Chile, to you, for your projects, your family, and keep in touch.
Thank you very much. And my brain is still thinking about, because I remember that I think we were driving to or from Bologna with your team and we were singing. I just cannot recall what the song was, but I know that we were singing. Thank you for that remembrance.
With Chile, we're singing a song called Si vas para Chile, te ruego viajero, que le digas a la mujer que quiero, about a song from the people outside to come to Chile, that how we received the foreigner in Chile. And the song from Holland, and I don't remember, but it was a very funny song, a very happy song. That's for me, I kept it in my heart for all my life. So I always tell this, I told Peter, I think it's a very emotional moment in volleyball for me.
Yeah.
I thank you so much, Joop, for your time. Keep in touch.
No problem.
And many success for your project.
It was an honor for me. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Take care.